top 5 players to buy into your FPL teams for game week 7. That is what we're having a look at today. Defenders, midfielders, forwards. Who are the players I am considering buying into my team that you need to buy into yours as well? What is up everyone, FPL Harry here. Today it is my top 5 players to buy, my transfer targets going into game week 7. A couple of days ago I spoke to you about my transfer plans, and here's a little bit more detail about the detailed players I'm trying to buy into my team going into this week. 1,000 likes is always the aim on the video. Subscribe if you are new around here, and these videos, all the data you see are taken from Fantasy Football Scout. They are still offering 30% discount if you want to sign up. There's a link in the description. It is your one-stop shop for articles, data, eye test, reports, videos, podcasts, whatever you need. They have it all for you. Link in the description, 30% off still. But our number one pick we're going to start off with is defender. And it's not actually a Newcastle defender. We'll talk about them in a moment. But I think it is finally time to be looking at Aston Villa as potential options, right? Aston Villa have had a difficult start to the season, but they are still performing well. From game week 7 onwards, they have a nice run of fixtures. And I think both defensively and going forward, spoiler for later on in the video, there are assets that we need to consider. Matty Cash is the defender I'm looking at to buy into my team. I almost bought him in game week 6, but I decided to go Botman because of the fixture he had last week, and that did pay off for me quite well. But going forward as well, I do think Matty Cash could pay off. 4.7 million in just under 20% of teams, given how well he started the season. The underlying data from an attacking point of view is really, really strong for him, right? Look at the fixtures that they do have. He is a great asset to be buying, but 0.48 XG per 90 for a defender is crazy, crazy high. Definitely one of the priority buys for me going into the next few weeks. And whether you want to do it against Brighton and then Wolves away, from game week 9 onwards, the fixtures do look really, really nice for Matty Cash and for Aston Villa as well. If you're looking for a defender this week, probably Newcastle. But if you already own Newcastle and you're looking for someone else, Matty Cash and Aston Villa look fantastic. And then his teammate. We are moving up the pitch into midfield, and it is Moussa Diaby, 6.6 million and just over 10% owned. Again, the fixtures for Aston Villa look great. He isn't starting in the Europa Conference League as we saw in their first match on Thursday evening. He is being used as first choice up front alongside Ollie Watkins in the Premier League. Again, very good underlying data, almost 0.5 XG per 90 plus 0.16 expected assists per 90 as well. Very unlucky to not get another attacking return against Chelsea in game week 6. Ollie Watkins didn't score the first attempt and scored the rebound, and if he'd have scored the first attempt, it would have been a Diaby assist. He is playing as a midfielder in FPL, but he's playing up front for Aston Villa. He is, again, one of the options I'm looking at in my midfield. Brian Mbeumo is disappointing. I, of course, have double Manchester United midfield in my team and Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. I've got the eye on downgrading one of them to Diaby in order to free up the money to bring in Mo Salah for the other one. Moving away from Aston Villa, moving to the double game week, it is Carlton Morris, 5.5 million, 3.7% owned. He is the only player I would even consider buying into your team. Now, I don't think it's a no-brainer transfer, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. I know he's in my top 5 players to buy video, but I wanted to use it as a bit of an opportunity to generally discuss the situations where I think maybe you should buy him and maybe the situations that you shouldn't buy him. He has 2 goals, 1 assist so far this season from 5 matches. Of course, they played 1 less after their game in game week 2 was postponed. The underlying data is good. 0.5 expected goals per 90 is not bad, and he has 2 fixtures, so over the double you'd expect him to have 1 expected goal. However, if you do take penalties away from that, he has just 0.19 XG per 90 outside of penalties, and the assist data is of course really poor for a striker, so he is reliant on penalties. If he didn't get that penalty in game week 6 that was very, very fortunate to be given, a lot of you will not be considering him, but he was given that penalty, which he did score, and he did get maximum bonus points as a result. I suppose my question is, what is the best outcome for Morris in this double? The probably best outcome that we can possibly think of is 2 attacking returns against Everton and Burnley. The worst is that he comes away with maybe 4 points in that, which is a very, very real possibility. Now, in what situation do I think you should be buying Morris? If you have Jackson in your team or you have João Pedro in your team, moving to Morris feels like a no-brainer of a transfer, right? João Pedro can't get in the Brighton team, and then, of course, Jackson is suspended. And the other situation where you might want to buy him is if you are wildcarding for certain in game week 8, 9 or 10. If you are not wildcarding in game week 8, 9 or 10 and you don't have Jackson or you don't have João Pedro in your team, I'm not really sure it's worth it. The reason for it is you'll use a transfer to buy him and then you'll need to use another transfer to sell him at some point. Is he worth 2 free transfers to bring in for this double game week? I think probably not. So if you're set to wildcard soon after, like quite a lot of people are, or you have one of those bad forwards in your team, then absolutely I can understand wanting to buy him. But don't go breaking your team. Don't go forcing yourself to wildcard. Don't go completely undoing all your plans that you've put in place just to buy him. Pick number 4 is the Newcastle defence, and actually not just one of them, because the majority of you watching this video will probably own at least one of them now, but it's generally talking about whether we should just be doubling up on them. My FPL team has Fabian Schär and Botman. How Fabian Schär came away as the only defender with no attacking returns in that game is beyond me. He didn't actually have any chances, but underlying data would suggest he's normally the best one for attacking returns, but let's hope for next week. Looking at the fixtures again, they continue to be good, especially if you don't have a wildcard in hand or you're saving it long term. The fixtures all the way up until about Christmas time are really, really nice. They offer really, really good value as well, right? So there's not many defenders you can get that are going to perform at the level that they are for the likes of 4.7, 4.5 and maybe even 5 million. Kieran Trippier came back with a bang. He got 3 assists as well. If you can get up to Kieran Trippier, he's absolutely worth it. The issue is, with Son performing so well, with Salah being consistent and Haaland continuing to score goals, trying to fit those 3 into your team, plus the likes of Maddison or Saka, and having Trippier in your defence as well, is very, very difficult. I tried to build a wildcard team for this week, and I couldn't get it to have Trippier in. I had to go with the likes of Botman, Dan Burn, maybe Fabian Schär in there. So I like Trippier as an option, and if you're going to buy him, great. But it is a little bit more difficult further down the line to get in the likes of Mo Salah and Son and Haaland and Maddison and Saka, as I mentioned. If you have one of them in already, would I buy Matty Cash or would I buy a second one in there? The more I look maybe at the fixtures in the terms of the short term, the next 5, I probably see 2 clean sheets in there, and I probably seen the same for Aston Villa. But Matty Cash has better attacking threat. Now, of course, all the Newcastle defenders just scored in game week 6, so there is a little bit of recency bias that may think they are more attacking. But if I was buying another one, I do really like the look of Matty Cash. But if you're on wildcard or you're looking to buy, I also really like the Newcastle defence as well. A minimum of 1 of these guys in your team. To be honest, 2 is pretty set and forget as well. And finally, maybe ones you're not quite expecting to be on these 5 players to buy, but I really think it's time to be looking at West Ham and their attack. Well, they're attackers, but midfielders in FPL. We've got James Ward-Prowse here and we've got Jarrod Bowen. James Ward-Prowse in at 6.2 million, Jarrod Bowen in at 7.1 million. Their stats so far this season basically imply that they are both worth the price they are and they are both performing very well. Ward-Prowse has scored 31 points with 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 attacking returns each, but Jarrod Bowen has 4 goals, 1 assist, and Jarrod Bowen therefore has slightly more points with 39 so far this season. The underlying data is also very, very even. If you add them together, it's basically the same, but Ward-Prowse slightly more favoured towards assists, whereas Jarrod Bowen has that attacking goal threat that we've seen from him so far this season. The fixtures for them coming up are also really good, right? So they've got Sheffield United, Everton at home. Now, defensively, it's maybe not that easy. Newcastle, Aston Villa, Brentford in there. But I still think West Ham will score goals in pretty much all of these fixtures. So if you are looking for a cheap midfielder, Mbeumo's maybe not performing that well. Brighton have a really difficult run of fixtures. Yes, I really like Diaby. I also really like the West Ham guys. I think buying one of these into your team is great. It depends on how much money you've got in the bank, to be honest. If you can afford Jarrod Bowen and it doesn't impact any of the rest of your plans, just like if you can buy Trippier and it doesn't impact any of the rest of your plans, then great. I think Bowen will outscore James Ward-Prowse this season, as I think Trippier will outscore Botman so far this season and throughout the rest of the year. But if it impacts the rest of your plans, I think going with James Ward-Prowse, we know that West Ham love to score from set pieces, and they have a player who is one of the best set piece takers in the Premier League, if not in the world at the moment. He is so good from the ball, from set plays, and from penalties, and from corners and things like that as well. So yes, go for Bowen if you can afford him, but James Ward-Prowse at 6.2 is great value for their upcoming run of fixtures as well. So we've actually had more than 5 players to buy, but Newcastle defence, Aston Villa defence, Aston Villa midfield, West Ham midfield, and then up front, Carlton Morris, if it fits your team long term. Have a think about that. Hopefully some things to think about more than just these are the players to buy in your team this week. Let me know any questions you have in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to answer them as much detail as I can before the game week 7 deadline. Like the video if you haven't already. 1,000 likes on the video is always the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll be back again very soon.